Am I the asshole for not planning anything for Father's Day after my husband ruined my first Mother's Day? I'm 98.7% sure that I am not the asshole here, but if I'm wrong, I'm willing to admit it and learn from my mistakes. Our little boy will be 1 late this summer, so this was the first Mother's Day and Father's Day for both me and my husband. My husband asked what I wanted for Mother's Day. I didn't want/need anything big or expensive. What I asked for is for husband to get up with the little guy and get him fed while I pumped and chilled. Breakfast in bed, just toast, scrambled eggs, and coffee. For us to take the little guy to the zoo for the first time. This was the main thing I was looking forward to. And go to my favorite taco place for dinner. Between morning and afternoon naps, we have about 4 hours of awake time. The zoo is about 30 minutes away, so I had figured if we left as soon as he got up from his nap and ate, we'd have a couple of hours at the zoo, and worst case, he could sleep in the car on the way home. We took my mom and my mother-in-law out to brunch the prior weekend to celebrate them, his mom on Saturday and my mom on Sunday. I also got them each a thoughtful little present and flowers to celebrate their first Mother's Day as grandparents. I arranged everything and told my mom and mother-in-law that we'd be celebrating on the actual day with just our little family and sent them a group chat which included husband, my dad, and father-in-law just to make sure everyone is on the same page. My mother-in-law is very pushy and overbearing, so I didn't want there to be any surprises or confusion. The Saturday before Mother's Day, father-in-law sent my husband a text with a picture of all the mulch he had just delivered and said something like, "Gonna be a busy weekend," or something like that. Apparently, he had 300 bags of mulch. They have a big yard with lots of flower beds. That night, my mother-in-law...
300 bags?
Yeah.
They got a big yard.
How big is this yard?
That night, my mother-in-law called my husband and asked him to come over first thing in the morning to help his dad move the bags of mulch to where they were going to be used. She said since we weren't going to the zoo until after the little guy's nap, that husband can go over and help for a couple of hours and then come pick us up to go to the zoo. I was obviously not happy, but she guilted him and said father-in-law was going to end up hurting himself if he moved all that by himself and that it's not a big deal and should only take an hour or two. I told him his mom was doing this to try and get us to skip our plans and spend the day with them, but he kept saying it's not a big deal and saying his mom promised it would only take a few hours, etc. I think most people know what happened. Husband went over first thing, which means no bed and breakfast, and I had to get up to feed the little guy. I was kind of pissed, but whatever. Spent time with the little guy, and then he went down for his morning nap. I texted my husband to let him know he should start wrapping things up. Then when the little guy woke up 2 hours later, I called husband to tell him I'm ready to go as soon as I finish feeding the little guy. He told me it was taking longer than he expected, but that he'd hurry. Like an hour and a half later, husband called and said they weren't done, but he was getting ready to come home. It's a 15 to 20 minute drive from mother-in-law's/father-in-law's house. At that point, we'd missed the window to make it to the zoo, so I told him to just stay there and finish and not worry about Mother's Day. He hadn't done a single thing that I asked for. I don't think there was any doubt in his mind how pissed I was. A little while later, his mom called and said since we decided not to go to the zoo, that me and the little guy should go hang out with her while the boys finished with the mulch. I admit that I was pretty pissed and I told her I had no interest in spending time with the people who decided to ruin my first Mother's Day. I ended up staying home and ordering a pizza and binging Netflix. When my husband got home, he was all apologetic and asked how he could make it up. I was still pissed and I told him he could make it up by not ruining my first Mother's Day. I also told him he should plan on spending Father's Day with his mom and dad because me and the little guy were going to celebrate Father's Day with my mom and dad. Since Mother's Day, mother-in-law has been texting and calling, but I keep conversations short and I just keep giving bland, generic responses. My husband has been apologizing and asking what he can do, but honestly, I don't want him to bother. I know it's just a day and we can celebrate anytime, like we did with my mom and mother-in-law, but it was my first ever Mother's Day, and it's not like I asked for anything expensive or difficult. The only difficult thing is he's incapable of setting boundaries with his mom, and she's incapable of considering anyone's feelings but her own. This Saturday, he asked if he was still going to my parents', then he said he'd like to go with us. I told him he could do whatever he wanted, but since I hadn't done anything for his dad, he might want to go see him or something. We both did end up going to see my parents and spending the day with them. It was actually a nice day. My dad insisted on grilling because of course he did, but the weather ended up being nice, and we spent a lot of time hanging out on their deck playing with the little guy. I'm not sure what, if anything, my husband did for his dad. I know he was getting a lot of texts during the day, I assume from his mom. She did send me a snippy text saying it was hurtful to spend the day with my family at the expense of husbands, but I told her she got to spend Mother's Day with her baby boy, so it's only fair that I spend Father's Day with my family. I know my husband was hurt that we didn't acknowledge him for Father's Day, but I told him while we were driving to my parents' house that I'm just matching his energy. I admit I haven't done anything to de-escalate the drama, but I'm still just so hurt he continues to prioritize his mom's feelings over our little family. This isn't the first time his mom has done crap like this, and I'm just tired of it. She's always overstepping and insists on doing what she wants. I'm doing better at keeping her at arm's length and holding my boundaries, but my husband is absolutely incapable of it. And then there's an update. I wanted to thank everyone. I've had a lot of people asking for an update, so here we go. This weekend, the husband and I sat down and talked about everything. I expressed to him how incredibly upset and disappointed I was at how both Mother's Day and Father's Day went down. I really wanted to recognize and celebrate my husband for Father's Day every bit as much as I hoped he would recognize and celebrate me for Mother's Day. He said he knew he shouldn't have gone to his parents on Mother's Day, but he didn't know what to do since his mom was pressuring him and said if his dad got hurt that it would be his husband's fault.
Oh, it's his fault.
Because why are you lifting the mulch in the first place?
100 bags. He admitted that he knew he messed up and has been terrified that I was going to ask for a divorce. I told him that if this is how our life is going to be, I don't want to stay married to him. I explained that I realized that while yes, I was upset about what happened on Mother's Day, this isn't what was making me feel that way. That was just the straw that broke the camel's back. This kind of behavior from his mom has been happening since before we got engaged and has just escalated. This has been happening for years. As someone here suggested, I have listed all of the times/events that I could remember that she had overstepped or just completely ruined. For our freaking honeymoon, she called him twice a day. Every morning to find out our plans for the day, and then every evening to hear how the day went. Plus the constant texting, asking for pictures, telling him how much she missed him. I don't know how I thought this was acceptable. She tried to make our wedding about herself, tried to make my pregnancy about herself, tried to take over when we brought our son home, just constantly inserting herself and overstepping. I told him that I don't really want to get divorced right now, but it's going to happen anyway. I'd rather get divorced now while we can still do it amicably. Because if nothing changes, I'm going to end up so angry and resentful that it would make divorce very contentious, and I don't want that for our son. At this point, we were both crying, upset, and emotional, so I told him that I'll give him some time to decide what he's going to do, but if I don't see clear effort being made to start prioritizing me and our son, then I'd move forward with a divorce. And the change has to continue. Every time we fought about this in the past, he's promised he'll change, and sometimes he has, and then his mom pulls him back into her orbit. If we're going to stay married, these are some of the things I'm insisting on in no particular order. We each own the relationship with our own parents. That means I'm not planning anything for his parents anymore. No cards, no presents, no brunches or parties, no pictures, nothing. If his parents reach out to me, I'm going to redirect them to him. I'm not entertaining or visiting with his parents when he's not around. I'm not taking our son over to theirs by myself. And if they drop by, I'm not inviting them in unless my husband is there. I'm not changing my plans at the last minute just because they decided to drop by without coordinating with us in advance or because they want us to do something with them. Neither of us make plans with our parents or accept invitations until we discuss with our partner. And if we don't agree, then we don't do it. And we don't throw each other under the bus. We just say something like, we checked our schedule and we're not available. Holidays like Christmas, Halloween, Easter, etc. are at our house. We can discuss inviting our parents, but we're not going to someone else's house to celebrate something involving our son when we can just do it at home. This includes his first birthday, which mother-in-law is trying to take over and plan. Other holidays, we're alternating between our parents. We'll focus on being present. That means no texting/talking to his mom nonstop when we're with my parents. No more oversharing with mother-in-law. She doesn't need to know about our finances or health/medical issues or vacation plans or anything unless we both agree it's something we want to share. His visits to his parents can't be at the expense of spending quality time with me or our son. I don't mind him visiting his parents, but he's over there a couple of times a week. We are his immediate family now. We should be priority. We're not doing things just because she said we should, and we're not changing our plans just because she doesn't like them. She really doesn't understand that wrong and different are not the same thing. In her mind, if we're not doing what she wants, how she wants, then we're in the wrong. He needs to go to therapy with someone specializing in enmeshment, and we need to start going to couples therapy. I didn't even realize I had so much pent-up resentment and that I can't look at my husband the same anymore. I'm just angry at him all the time, and I hate being this way. When it comes to our son, our word, husband and me, is law. If she disregards or minimizes our decisions for our son, then she loses access until she learns to behave. When me or my husband say no to either set of parents, the other person will support them and back them up. That means my husband will have to stop trying to get me to agree with his mom all the time. I can tell he's really freaked out and really stressed about the idea of putting hard boundaries in place or distancing from his parents. And I do feel for him. He said he feels like he's caught between a rock and a hard place, and that me and his mom are putting a ton of pressure on him, and both have conflicting expectations. And that's fine. He just needs to understand that I'm not tolerating this anymore. I know this will cause an absolute shitstorm with his parents, but I feel like if we don't do it now, it'll just be harder down the line. What does everyone think? Am I being unreasonable? Are there other boundaries we should put in place?